Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha the Messiah, his Son. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you another word. Our word today is church. Now, everybody knows this word, but I can bet you that you don't know the hidden meanings behind this word church. This word church should not have been inserted in the scriptures at all to describe the children of the Most High. This church is to hide the children of the Most High and replace it with another entity. You know, the videos that I make, I've been in the church for over 20 years. I went to the Bible schools. I did all of those things. I've served with rigor. I've carried out street ministries. I've taught people how to go out into the street and to minister to the people. So I was all in 100%. It wasn't until the Father opened up my mind and started pouring this knowledge into me and had me to check everything that I do. And you must do the same. You're not just to listen to these preachers and not check it out for yourself. They can deceive you. I know the problem with us, why we don't want to study, because in order for us to study a doctrine, we have to go through every scripture in the Bible on that topic to make sure that everything lines up according to the doctrine that this person is speaking. If you do that, you'll find that everything that you hear today is a lie. No one is telling you the truth. Maybe because they don't know the truth themselves. Our Messiah says, how can the blind lead the blind, lest they both fall into a ditch? We are under blind guides. They're leading us astray. They're not teaching us according to the scripture. They're teaching us according to the doctrine of demons and devils. Let's begin to check out this word church. This is very extensive. Pay attention. You may have to pause it, read, continue, pause, read, study, look it up, continue, just to make sure that what I'm saying is true. You need to do this so you can see the deception that they have committed against us. Church. To bring or lead to church, mid-14th century. From church. Related, churched. You know, that's us. We're churched people. Old English, circe. Church, public place of worship. Christians collectively. From Proto-Germanic kirika, source of Old Saxon kirika, Old Norse kirkja, Old Frisian zerki, Middle Dutch kirk, Dutch kirk, Old High German kiriha, German kirch, probably see note in OED, from Greek Kyriake, oika, Kyriakam, dorma, Lord's house. From Kyrios, ruler, Lord. From pi root, Q, to swell, swollen, hence, strong, powerful, see cumulus. Phonetic spelling, from circa 1200, established by the 16th century. For vowel evolution, see Berry as an adjective from the 1570s. Now, I want you to pay attention. If you look at the origin, this is from the Etymology dictionary. If you look at the origin of the word church, it did not come from the scripture. Let me say this again. The origin of the word church did not come from the scripture. Look at what it's saying here. Old English, Proto-Germanic, Norse, Old Saxon, Frisian, Dutch. High German, Greek, all of these European nations are the ones who inserted this word church. Let's continue. Greek, Kyriakon, adjective, of the Lord, was used of houses of Christian worship since circa 300, especially in the East, though it was less common in this sense that ecclesia or basilic, an example of the direct Greek to Germanic process of many Christian words via the Goths. It probably was used by West Germanic people in their pre-Christian period. Also picked up by Slavic, probably via Germanic, Old Church, Slavonic, Kriki, Russian, Surkov, Finnish, Kirko, Estonian, Kirik, are from Scandinavian. Romance and Celtic languages use variants of Latin, ecclesia, such as French, iglesia, 11th century. Church bell was in late Old English. Churchgoer is from 1680s. Church key in early 14th century, a slang used for can or bottle opener, is by 1954, probably originally U.S. college student slang. Church mouse, proverbial in many languages for its poverty, is 1731 in English. Now, I'm giving you all this mumble jumble so that you can see. Note, you do not see anything about the Hebrews or the Judeans is not mentioned whatsoever. The Old Testament, the Torah, the Pentateuch, none of this is in here. The origin of this word church is European. Let's continue. You saw that it said about the word ecclesia. Let's see what ecclesia means. Congregation, mid-14th century, a gathering, an assembly. For Old French, congregation. 12th century, modern French, congregation. From Latin, congregationem, nominative, congregatio. Noun of action from congregare, see congregate. Used by Tyndale to translate Greek ecclesia in New Testament and by some Old Testament translators in the place of synagogue. Vulgate uses a variety of words in these cases, including congregatio, but also ecclesia, vulgus, synagoga, populus. Protestant reformers in 16th century used it in place of church. Hence the word's main modern sense of local society of believers in the 15th century. So you understand here, ecclesia, right? They use this word, and they said that we have to delete a word and add our own. Remember something. The word church does not mean you. The word church is pointing towards a building, and it's an assembly, but it does not mean you as the individual. You are not the church. It's speaking about a place of gathering. They have taken out anything to do with the Hebrews or the children of Israel. It tells you right here. They replaced synagogue with ecclesia. And because we have so much mumble jumble to sift through to get to the true meaning, this is how they frustrate us. Most of us will come a few paragraphs and we will stop because we don't understand what's going on. But I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to keep going so you can see the etymology of this word church. Synagogue, the regular public worship of the Jews. Now, this is the focus of where you should get your name for your public place of worship. It should not come from the European, but it should come from the place where the root is. And the root is who? Israel. So all of your terms should come from Israel. But the design of the people who have transliterated this Bible is to wipe Israel off the face of the map. In the late 12th century, the regular public worship of the Jews, also the building in which this is done. From Old French, synagogue, synagogue, mosque, pagan temple. Modern French, synagogue. From late Latin, synagoga, congregation of Jews. From Greek, synagogue, place of assembly, synagogue, meeting, assembly. Literally a bringing together from synagogue, to gather, bring together, assemble. From sin, together, see sin, plus agen, put in motion, move, from pi root ag, one, to drive, draw out or forth, to move, see act. Used by Greek translators of the Old Testament as a loan translation of Hebrew Knesset, assembly, as in Beth Knesset, synagogue, literally house of assembly. Compare Knesset, related synagogo and synagogo. So everything, the origin of the word for church comes from Knesset, which should be the assembly or the house of assembly, but they have totally wiped that out. They did not transliterate from that word. What they did is that they bypassed it itself and they used a word that they've been using for centuries, even before our Messiah came. And that word is Circe or Kirk, which describes the church. That's where the word church comes. Circe or church or Kirk, Kirky, all of the words that I showed you from the beginning. Go back and review it again because there's just so much information for you to go through. Go through it piece by piece. Take your time. See exactly what it is saying. Now let's look at the word ecclesia, and this is the Strong's. Called out or forth. Now this should be the meaning of what the word church means. It's the called out ones. And this from ecclesia, probably a gathering of citizens called out from their homes into some public place, an assembly. So used, one, among the Greeks. I can't pronounce this word, so I'm just going to try. I'll probably cut it all up. Thucydides, Herodotus 3:142, down. An assembly of people convened at the public place of council for the purpose of deliberating. Acts of the Apostles, chapter 19 through 39. In the Septuagint, often equivalent to the Hebrew word, the assembly of the Israelites. And now you have scripture. Now I want you to notice something. All of the definitions that you had from the beginning, this is the part I wanted to get to, brothers and sisters. All of the definitions that you had from the beginning for that word church, note, there was not one scripture attached to it. Why? Because you can't find it in scripture. It does not exist in the Old Testament. It's not even existent in the New Testament. This was a word that was added to replace the real ecclesia, who is the called out ones, or the ones who have been called forth. 3, and gathering or throng of men assembled by chance or tumultuously. Now let's look at the word ecclesia. This is the root of the word. It comes from ekkaleo. This definition is derived from the fact that ecclesia is actually a compound of two words in the Greek. Ek, which means from out of, and kaleo, which means to call forth out of. Out of what? 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So this is the term that you're supposed to use because we are the called out ones. It tells you that we're that royal priesthood. We're the ones who are designed to bring this message to the nations. We're different. We're a holy nation. We're different from everyone else. We're a peculiar people. Our practices are strange to them because we keep the commandments of the Most High. Now, you want to know who this chosen generation is? It has nothing to do with the church. This royal priesthood has nothing to do with the church. This holy nation has nothing to do with the church. This peculiar people has nothing to do with the church. Let me show you who these people are. Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 through 6. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. For all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Do you see this? Every term that you had in 1 Peter is here in Exodus. This is the place of origin. Remember, all of your disciples, your apostles, your Messiah, they all quoted from the Old Testament. Why did they do that? Because it is the place of origin. So anytime you want to find a truth, you have to relate back to the Old Testament. Go back to the old ways to find out exactly how these people have twisted the scripture so that they can hide the nation of Israel. Look, every word that you're looking for, we're a peculiar people, peculiar treasure. We're a kingdom of priests, a royal priesthood. We are a holy nation. That's us. And the ones whom he has called out are the children of Israel, not the church. Psalms 83, 1 through 2. Let me tell you what their whole purpose was. And I'm going to read straight through this quickly, and we'll get straight to the point. Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies, his enemies, make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. That's us. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. That's us. We're the only ones who cut off from being a nation. We're the ones that all of these nations came together and consulted against the hidden ones. We are the ones that nobody has a clue that we are the children of the Most High. We're still hidden, but we're getting ready to come out. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. They all together, they are confederate. The tabernacles of Edom, see, it names them one by one. This is every nation upon the earth has come against us. The Ishmaelites, Moab, Hagarenes, Gibel, Ammon, Amalek, the Philistines, the inhabitants of Tyre, Assur, also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb. Yea, all the princes of Zebah and as Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. That's you. Not only did they take you as slaves, the children of Israel. If you go into the ancient maps, you'll find out that the Gold Coast, the place that they called the Gold Coast or the Slave Coast, was originally called Judah or Yahudah or Wida. Check it for yourself. This information is out there, but we just don't know where to look. Let's look in Jeremiah chapter 31 through 33. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. Although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. So this is the covenant that the Most High has made. Look at here. First of all, he's telling you that the first covenant has already been struck. Now he's saying that he's going to make a new covenant. So you know the first covenant has already been struck. So this new covenant that's coming about, he's getting ready to make. Now I want you to understand that the church says that they are the new covenant church. But they are not. He did not make any new covenant with the church. He tells you here that he made a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. It is not with anyone else. This covenant has nothing to do with the Europeans. They have taken our Bible, our instruction manual, and twisted it, turned it around, taken out terms that apply to the children of Israel that will point to our identity, and they have replaced it with themselves, and they call themselves the church. And because we've never investigated this word, we've called ourselves the church. But in all reality, we are the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Now, can we find this term in the New Testament? Hebrews chapter 8, verse 7 through 10. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with them, with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. So the new covenant that we're talking about, that is supposed to be the church, is really the house of Israel. He never said he was coming to make a new covenant with the Roman Catholic Church or the Baptist Church or any of these churches. He said with the house of Israel or with the house of Judah. Now, you need to get yourself together here, because if you want to be under this new covenant, you have to be one or the other, or you have to be grafted in. That's another video. If I get into that, I'll go on a tangent and I'll be here forever. Let's look at Romans chapter 11, verse 16 through 18. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, wert grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Now, this is the covenant. The new covenant was made for the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Simple. The scripture supports what I said. The new covenant was never made with the church. You can look any place you want to. You'll never find it. Now that we understand that, you have to remember the new covenant is made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. I'm repeating myself to get this in your head. Anyone who wants to be a partaker of this salvation plan, the first thing that you have to do is you have to be grafted in to the children of Israel. What does this grafted in mean? It's like an adoption. When you get adopted into the family, the first thing you do is you take on the name of the family. Then after you take on the name, you begin to learn the attributes and the way the family carries out. You learn about their God. Their God becomes your God. And you begin to worship the way that they do. Anyone who is a part of the Gentile nation, if they are to come to salvation, they have to come to the root. And the root is Israel. You cannot bypass the root and expect to have salvation. There is only one root, and that is Israel. In order for you to come to salvation, you have to come to Israel, not Israel to you. Do you know that under this replacement theology, that the church teaches that Israel, that the children of Israel, this remnant that is left, that is going to come forth in these last days, that is us. We're coming forth. We're coming out of the woodworks. We're making videos all over the place. We're preaching in the street. We're spreading this good news to all of our brothers and sisters so that they can know we are those children of light, and it's time for us to rise and take back our heritage. We have to teach them, because they can't teach us. They want to wipe us out. This is why they replaced the children of Israel and the children of Judah with the church. They're boasting against the natural branches. How are they boasting against the natural branches? Well, in the church they says that because the children of Israel rejected Christ, which is a lie, because the children of Israel did not all reject Christ. There were some who did, but the majority of them accepted him. But they said because they rejected Christ, they were destroyed, wiped out, and now they were replaced with the church, and the church is spiritual Israel. There is no thing like that in the scriptures. Nowhere. All you have to do is read this whole passage, Romans 11, verse 16 through 18, and you'll find out about the way that the grafting process works. You do not graft a good olive tree into a wild olive tree. You graft the wild olive tree into the good olive tree, so it can be a partaker of the fatness and the root of the olive tree. You can't boast against the natural branches. If he didn't spare Israel for their sins, he's surely not going to spare you. Here's the olive tree. I want to give you a graphic so you can kind of understand. Look at the roots. The roots are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are the people who the covenants were struck with. These are the people who form the root. Anytime you hear that word root, you have to go back to DNA. That's what the root means. So all of the people who are in the natural branches have to have the DNA that flows from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If you don't have that DNA, you are not one of the natural branches. If you are a Gentile and you've come to this knowledge and you want to come under the covenants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you have to take on the attributes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That means you can't be going around eating pork chops. You can't eat shellfish. You can't do all of the pagan activities that you do today, Christmas, Easter, Halloween. I mean, we do them all. Anything that comes about, we're ready to get busy. You have to come to the root and begin to carry yourself as the root. That means you have to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments, and you have to have the testimony of the Messiah. I've created here a summary, and this here will explain to you a little better about the wild olive tree, good olive tree. I'm just going to read this. You can read this on your own, but I want you to check out the whole Romans chapter 11 so that you can see for yourself how this thing works. Check this out. The threefold root of the good olive tree was holy because separated. And as the root was holy, so were the branches. We next read that some, not all, of the branches were broken off. So the world teaches us that all of the branches are broken off. That Israel, because of unbelief, was just wiped out, and now everything has come to the church. And that's not true. You'll find that in Romans chapter 11. Not all were broken off, some. And they were not broken off so that the Gentiles can come in. There was no, this is the doctrine that they teach. I know, I went to Bible school. We teach that because they were broken off, that's why we were grafted in. But it says they were not broken off that the Gentiles might be grafted in, but they were broken off because of unbelief. When you read the scripture, you're going to see it's because of unbelief that those branches were broken off. And the Gentiles were not grafted in that they might supplant. Supplant means to replace or to take the place of the branches that had been broken off, but that they, as branches of the wild olive tree, might be a partaker of the root and fatness of the good olive tree. We see from this that the good olive tree is not rooted up and destroyed. You'll never find that in scriptures, brothers and sisters. See, you have to learn how to read this thing and learn how to follow the scripture, not read one verse and think you got it. You have to go from reference to reference, line by line, precept by precept, here a little, there a little. That's how you study. So the good olive tree is not rooted up and destroyed, and the wild olive tree planted in its place. You'll never find that. But it still remains alive and gives life to both the good and the wild olive branches. So we see that those who claim that the wild olive branches that are grafted in represent the church, and that the church has taken the place of Israel, are in error. For the wild olive branches do not remain on the good olive tree, but will be broken off, that the original branches may be grafted back in. Don't boast against the natural branches, because the root is what sustains thee. You don't sustain the root. The remnant is being grafted back into the good olive tree as we speak. And those who claim to be a part of the church, those branches are going to be broken off because they will not keep the law of the Most High, which is his spiritual mind. He says, my ways are not like your ways. If we hear that and we know that we have to follow what the Most High has set for us. And the only way that you can follow what he has set for you is by keeping his commandments. Matthew chapter 10, verse 5 through 7. I want to bring this out so you can see, because I don't think that we've been paying attention. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. When he sent the divine commission and he sent his disciples out to preach and to teach, he told them not to go to the Gentiles at all. He told them only to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Did you guys see that before? Or did we just read straight over it because we've been such a strong delusion that the church represented us? It's only the house of Israel. I think the house or Israel is mentioned in the New Testament about 79 times. It would be even mentioned more if they didn't replace it with what? The church. Because these people had an agenda. The Europeans found that they were not written in the scripture. at all, except for evil, destruction, and death. So when they saw our books, it scared them. And in order to keep us under subjection, they changed our words and made themselves to be on top, and we're the bottom. So they're the good olive tree, and we're the wild now. You see how they've reversed everything in Scripture. This is what they do. They come, they conquer a land, they take the resources, they take all of the inventions, they apply it to themselves, and they say they invented it. They came and they took our Bible. They read it, they studied it. They found that the Bible reveals who they are and that they are not a part of this family of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob because it is a Shemitic line. It is a bloodline. So they rewrote the Bible. Look at your Messiah again, Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He was speaking to the woman who was petitioning him. And he told her, he's not sent but only to the lost sheep of Israel. He didn't come for the church. Remember, the church is not in Scripture. If you would have said to the Messiah at this point, he says, well, Messiah, who is the church? He would have said to you, church? What is that? The word didn't even exist to them. His ministry was only to the Hebrews. It was only to the children of Judah. He never spoke to anyone else. They spoke to him, and he responded. But his ministry was primarily to the children of Israel. How did we miss that? All of these years we've been deceived by this church. They've been lying to us over and over and over again. We need help. This is why I'm creating these videos, to show you all of these lies.